Framing the seen and unseen. Step inside art museums through these children's books with us as we look at the space for children and how they interact in the museum itself.
Hello everyone, my name is Chinyan and this is my partner Kate.
To begin, we must first establish our definition of curriculum. In line with PNAR, we are looking at curriculum as a complicated conversation through the constant interactions between subject-object participation, as well as how the identity of subject-object changes through those interactions. Moreover, we will be looking into both the explicit and implicit aspects of curriculum, as well as the tensionality between curriculum as planned and curriculum as lived, such as in Aoki, and how it provides a generative point for knowing. We frame these interactions through the explicit and hidden curriculum of children's picture books about art museum visits.
Children picture books that we are discussed today are Katie Meets the Impressionist by James Mayhew, Salmon at the Art Museum by Christina Sun-Turner-Vett, Anna at the Art Museum by Hazel Hutchin and Gail Hubbard. Katie Meets the Impressionists tell a story of Katie and her grandmother's trip to an art museum. The story unfolds like Alice in Wonderland. Katie steps into the Impressionist artifact and interacts with the character inside the painting. Anna at the art museum and Simon at the art museum have similar storyline. The children visit the art museum with their parents. Compared to the adults, children have their own way of approaching the artifact at the museum space. One thing in common is that their behaviors in the art museum were often viewed as unacceptable.
Explicitly, this book is about recognizing certain artworks and the styles by Impressionist painters. Implicitly, this book is about how a proper child engages with an art gallery and who belongs in said gallery. The title page shows an impressive edifice, resembling Duncan's idea of the museum as a temple. Katie and her grandmother inhabit the foreground in bright colors, whereas other gallery visitors are nothing more than faded blurs. The architectural choice of imposing pillars and the focus on the building and paintings over other people provide the direction which positions Katie and her grandmother as shrine-goers, receptive to the rituals of the shrine itself. Entering the gallery, we are informed that it is Grandma's birthday, and Katie loves the museum because, quote, "you never knew what you were going to see there," end quote. Explicitly, this frames the story as one of excitement, of surprises and joyful discovery. Looking deeper at the illustrations of Impressionist-styled paintings in fancy golden frames and sprawling empty hallways, this art museum looks like a stereotypical Western conception of an art museum without the crowds. As Duncan argues, what we see and do not see in our most prestigious art museums, and on what terms and whose authority we do or don't see, involves a much larger questions of who constitutes the community and who shall exercise the power to define its identity. The voice of Grandma provides Katie the information needed to appreciate Impressionist paintings, and that is all that is required for Katie to deeply connect, going so far as to step inside the paintings. Her first painting, The Luncheon by Claude Monet, has her meeting Monet's family, and through the voice of Monet's son Jean, the author tells us that Monet is a famous painter and he likes to paint flowers. The two children then show active appreciation of art by going into a representation of Monet's studio and painting their own flowers and portraiture. Being inspired by art to create art is framed as positive, but in the next painting we see chastisement used to reinforce ritualized behaviors. When she enters Girl with a Watering Can by Pierre Renoir, she allows her imagination to pair with childish rambunctiousness as she and the painting subjects pretend to be in a jungle. The moment of play is penalized on the following page when the girl's mother arrives, furious about the destruction of the garden. Katie flees in shame, learning there is no space for uninhibited play in an art museum. This scene reinforces the ritual aspects of the museum as temple, where there is a program narrative established by the physical space as well as through social expectations within the space, and Katie is encouraged to perform these rituals and shamed when she does not. Her misbehavior leads to such discomfort that her only option is to flee. Following the disaster of her pretending to be in a jungle in Renoir's Girl with a Watering Can, as well as a peaceful interlude in Monet's Field of Poppies, Katie returns to Renoir through her first evening out. However, she is seen as a disruption, distracting the subject from viewing art. The quote, "Hush, the ballet is about to start," reinforces this. Once again, her failure to follow symbolic cues results in being forced to leave the scene. She next finds herself in The Blue Dancers by Edgar Degas. She performs the expected rituals inspired by a painting of dancers to imagine herself as a dancer, and receives praise for doing so. Although the book is titled Katie Meets the Impressionists, the character Katie does not actually interact with the Impressionists. Monet is unintentionally an absent father in her conversations with the painting subjects. We are told Monet loves to paint his family, but we never get to see Monet himself engage with his family. Renoir and Degas are even further distant, not even mentioned by the subjects of their paintings. The book ends with a framing of facts, miniature bios on the rise of Impressionism, as well as small snippets of facts about the three main Impressionists whose works are seen in this book. Theirs is considered to be the stories that have worth, the stories worth telling. And through this, the book establishes a curriculum of a Western canon.
Anna at the art museum opens up with the line that says, Anna was not happy. Everything at the art gallery seemed old and boring. Anna sought ways to entertain herself, such as speaking to the artifacts, playing peekaboo with the baby, and even climbing onto works of art. The attendant from the art museum was there watching Anna and stopped Anna from doing all these activities. Museums are ritual sites, as Duncan argues. They are never neutral and work like temples. The space is reserved for a particular kind of contemplation and a learning experience and demanding a special quality of attention, what Victor Turner called liminality. Therefore, the action of Anna were seen as unacceptable in the eyes of attendant. The attendant tried to make Anna more behave like a viewer would have. He kept saying, no, no, and no. A scene that we particularly enjoy is the scene of Inside Out and Outside In, when Anna's mother was looking at scenario painting of a harbor. Anna was also looking out of the window. What she is looking at also happened to a harbor. Anna was looking away, diverting her attention from what the museum demanded the viewer to pay attention to, which in this case is the painting that Anna's mother is building. Anna thinks to herself, if only the museum could be turned inside out, or the world outside in. She seemed to be diverting to the space that produced ritual practice. Or if what inside is the curriculum as planned, and what is outside is the lived curriculum, then Anna is indulging in the differences between two curricula. The epilogue is also a scene that deconstructs the enclosed space. Anna walks out the museum, letting inside and out flow together. Simon went to the art museum with his parents. Like Anna, Simon was also disciplined in the art museum. His parents taught him how to engage with art museums, exhibiting civilized behaviors. Simon soon becomes bored and starts to look away. Simon observed the people, the viewer of the art museum, looking at how they view art. People are smiling, giggling, and arguing. Simon also takes a closer look at how people interact with the art, how far they stand from the artwork, how they walk past the art, and how they're taking picture of the art. As he was observing, he felt right in the middle of everything, but kind of separate too. The line implies Simon's indwelling state. He is not one of the viewers who were attracted to the artifact, yet he is a viewer in the museum. It is the space of tension, the indwelling between being part of and apart from the experience, that Simon is able to be engaging in complicated conversation with the gallery and with himself on what is meaningful about art, who can engage, and how can people engage.
Framing the gallery. Katie Meets the Impressionists paints an idealized version of a child loving the possibilities for the imagination in an art museum. Anna and Simon, however, both allow conversations about children feeling welcome in a space versus othered, and both protagonists take longer to connect with the art around them. However, all three books clearly promote the concept of art as a transformative agent. The planned hidden curriculum is to increase children's comfort in gallery spaces and encourage them to engage with both the space and the artwork. From a meta perspective, The stories invite children into the position of subject rather than simply viewer, as the art museums are reflected through the lens of a child main character.